we have with us Ms. Marina Dimova, Managing Director of Design and Innovation at Women's World Banking, and Ms. Pallavi Madhu, Senior Solution Specialist at Women's World Banking. Through this session, participants will understand the various elements of women-centered design approach and how to use it to tailor-make women-centered programs and solutions. We will discuss the three-pronged approach to women-centered design using human-centered design methodology to understand the life cycle and needs of women, behavior science to further understand the mechanics of financial decision-making, and finally, building upon women's world banking expertise and experience of working with women. But before I tell you more about our facilitators, let me inform you that we have a panel discussion running concurrently in track A on empowering women for better society and economy, mainstreaming the successful models. With this, I would like to invite Ms. Marina Dimova, the Managing Director of Design and Innovation at Women's World Banking, a global nonprofit devoted to giving more low-income women access to financial tools and resources they require to achieve security and prosperity. In this position, she focuses on transforming the strategic ideation and solution design process of financial service providers and identifying and designing innovative financial solutions for women and girls. Marina is a designer with 15 years of experience in developing, implementing, and scaling innovative solutions to social problems. She uses insights from behavioral science and new technologies to build effective customer-centric products and services and embed innovation into teams and organizations. Previously, Marina was vice president at Ideas 42, where she designed, tested, and scaled products, processes, and programs in customer finance, international development, and financial inclusion. Her designs have focused on increasing the take-up and usage of financial products and improving the financial management behaviors of low-income clients. Before that, Marina led strategy for a social enterprise developing a youth employment program in West Africa. She has also worked on agricultural value chains and private sector development at the World Bank and in finance and healthcare consulting. Up next, we also have Ms. Pallavi Madhu, who leads Women's World Banking Solutions development practice in India. She focuses on promoting access to finance for low-income women by building capacity at leading financial institutions like Bank of Baroda, Ujjivan, and Fino Payments. She has 20 plus years of experience in financial services and works with consumer and channel insights, research, analytics, marketing, and project specialists to deliver sustainable and scalable products. She is a tenured product manager and consultant with experience launching new businesses and product solutions across industries like banking, education, and FMCG. Pallavi has worked for large multinational companies like Nestle India, AT Kearney, and Citibank India across roles in business and product strategy, product development, sales and marketing, and internet banking and sales. In Citibank, she developed a marketing strategy for the institutional client group, wholesale banking. She has also worked in smaller domestic startups, launching businesses and products from concept to MVP to national launch. We also have with us Poonam Shami and Swati Chaudhary from the WWB team, who will be helping in facilitating the activity later in the session today. It's an honor to have.
Thank you so much, Pooja. And good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to have you all here with us today. And thank you for joining us at the end of the day of what has been a 2-day really fruitful conference. And many, many thanks for CSR Box for inviting us to do this session today. So today we'll be focusing on how to design effectively financial inclusion programs for women. And before I go there, I'll do a quick introduction to us as an organization. So Women's World Banking really focuses on 3 main pillars: advisory services, so designing solutions in partnership with financial services providers for women customers in the financial sector, asset management and investment in institutions that support women customers and women as leaders within the organization, and trainings on leadership and diversity. And over 40 years of our experience, we have continually demonstrated the business case for investing in women as clients and as leaders. And to do that, we firmly believe in partnerships. So we partner with commercial banks, public sector banks, fintechs, MNOs, FMCG companies, and other players to really support the cause for women's financial inclusion and drive inclusion across markets. With that, you already heard about the team who is with us today. I wanted you to see them, and then later on you'll be able to meet us in the breakout sessions. But we're so excited to host you today, and the India team based out of India will be really excited to continue meeting and engaging with you over time. So to get going directly in what we'll discuss today, the session has three main components. First, we'll focus on what is women-centered design and how to use it. Then we'll use a case study of a project we've recently done in India to illustrate it and provide you context for the interactive ideation session that will happen after the case, and we'll use the information from the case to get our ideas going. With that, we'll move into the first section. So first, why are we even talking about designing for women customers? And I'll start with one example. We still have a lot of progress to make in financial services so they serve well low-income customers. So for example, here we wanted to present a stat that about 25% of accounts globally in emerging markets are dormant. And with that, the dormancy rate is even higher for women customers. So we're seeing a widening gap between how women and men use financial products that really lessens the opportunities for women to effectively engage in the financial sector. Why is that the case? Well, we know that women have a steeper adoption curve in using financial products. They often ask more questions upfront to understand what this product is. Especially in onboarding, they require more in-person touch points to reassure them and build confidence of how to use a product. But once onboarded, they are more loyal customers. So a really important customer base and not to be overlooked. With that, in order to effectively engage women customers, to make them feel confident for using a financial product, they need a couple of simple questions answered. What is this product? What value does it bring me and my life? And how do I use it? And we wanted to start exactly there because women-centered design can help us answer these questions and effectively engage women customers. So here I wanted to transition and show you what we mean by women-centered design, which is the proprietary design approach we developed at Women's World Banking. And at its core, it has two main pillars. What we're trying to do is design both for the women customer and alongside that for the business, so the financial service provider that is trying to serve that customer. And on the women customer side, we really put a strong attention on the women customer because we want to drive impact and really understand how to support her financial life so she can really drive her prosperity and security in her financial life. For the business, a core component that we're trying to achieve is scalability. So scaling the solution across many segments, across multiple countries. And in order to do that, the solution needs to be commercially viable. And when you overlap these two, you really start having solutions that are win-win for the business and the customer. And what we think also is that women-centered design is not only a methodology and a way to design products, but also a set of core values. So these values we share with the field of human-centered design, and they're incredibly important in starting to really integrate the perspectives of our various customer segments into how we develop the solutions. So the first one I want to emphasize is empathy. And this is really trying to design from the perspective of the women customer, understanding where they're coming from, their needs and what they want, so we can really design for them and engage them in the design process along with us. The second one is integrative thinking, where we're really trying to put different ideas together and make them work seamlessly, where sometimes you don't see the connections, but we're really building both our teams and our solutions where we can bring insights from economics and technology and customer research to, create a solution that's new and allows us to innovate in the space. Collaboration is also a really key aspect of the core values, because once you have these diverse teams, collaborating across these cross-functional areas is key. And then experimentation, which really, in our words, means testing fast, learning fast, failing fast, so we can really find solutions that work through trial and error, and find what best works for our stakeholders. And finally, yes, and which allows us to build on each other's ideas so they can be better, more well thought, and more suitable to our end goals. And from these core values, I'll highlight two, which you'll actually need in the ideation, and that we'll do in a little bit, which is empathy. So thinking through your ideas through the lens of the woman customer, which we'll actually try to bring into the room so you get really familiar with her. And then yes, and building on your each other's ideas. Next, I just wanted to summarize in two simple terms what high level we mean by women-centered design. First, it is a systematic and iterative process for problem solving. So we think about our solutions as solutions to problems, and the process of women-centered design is our way to get to the solution. And then it is truly a mindset that helps us to integrate the customer and the business perspective to drive effective designs. Finally, I wanted to show the 5-stage process of women-centered design that we use in our own work. And here we're actually going to walk you through the first 3 stages through the case study and the interactive ideation session. But first, we start with defining the problem. So once we are developing a solution, we need to know what problem we're solving in order to develop an effective solution for it. Once we have a clarity of what the problem is on the customer side and on the business side, we move to diagnose. In this phase, we really go deeper on research, understanding the business requirements and aspects of the institution, and then understanding the customer perspective, which gives us a sense of the root causes of the problems we've identified from the perspective of the customer and the business. Then we move into design, where we're actually developing the solutions. And from there on, we really launch the solution in the field, where we first piloted in a market setting to see how well it's working, whether it's validating our assumptions, what is working, what is not working. And based on these learnings, we actually do any changes we deem necessary and move on to scale. And finally, one key piece I wanted to highlight is that in this approach, we actually embed a number of different disciplines and types of methodologies in order to make all of this happen. So we use the insights from service design and human-centered design, behavioral design, designing for the business, qualitative and quantitative research to really walk through our process and gather the insights. And we'll illustrate that in the case study. And with that, I'm going to turn it to my colleague Pallavi to take us on a journey with a really exciting work we've done with a partner in India.
Thank you, Marina, and hello, everyone. So like Marina explained, I'm going to take you through a case study that we did with a partner in India. And I hope it'll bring alive the process that Marina just described. Next slide, Marina. So just to give you a context about financial inclusion in India, while in the past 6 years, many of you may be aware that India made significant strides in the space of financial inclusion. Today, 77% of Indian women have bank accounts. And while there are around 461 million women and 345 million of them have accounts, 171 million women accounts are not actively used. So they may have accounts, but they're not actively using these accounts. Next slide. So when we walked and we started working with our partner, Bank of Baroda is a public sector bank. It's the third largest public sector bank in India. And Bank of Baroda has around 47 million Jan Dhan accounts, which are the PMJDY accounts, which are zero balance accounts that have been provided to a lot of low income customers in India. And as a result, they have a large percentage of the market share of Jan Dhan customers, around 11%. Women customers are a very important base for a bank like Bank of Baroda. They are large and they're also a growing customer base. However, if you see in the data I've presented, a lot of the women customers, they are transaction active. Around 58% of women are transaction active. They're also valuable for the bank because the average balances in their accounts are higher than men accounts. However, their engagement with their account is much lower. Their actively saving women accounts are only 15% compared to a double rate of 32% with men. And the product penetration and engagement with other products is also lower. That was the problem statement that we walked in to solve for Bank of Baroda. Next slide. However, the opportunity is that women are the money managers in every household in India and actually worldwide. They manage the household income. They may not always be earning the income, but they manage home finances and cash flows. As a result, 70% of women that we surveyed save. So all of them may not be saving in their account, even though they own a Jan Dhan account. A large percentage of women currently use informal ways of saving and they save at home. Next slide. So when we wanted to understand our customers a little bit more, and our research showed us that the ability to save is determined by two key variables. One is that I should have autonomy on the finances in the household, and I should be able to make decisions on where the money goes. And the second factor is I should have a perceived ability to save. I should be able to believe that I can save. And when we looked at both the axes, we had customer segments across the 4 quadrants. We chose to work with women who had autonomy over the finances because we were working with the bank and we felt that those were the customers that we could influence. So therefore, there are 3 profiles that I'll share with you in the next slide. 3 women. One is a goal-oriented saver. The second is a struggling saver. And the third is a load bearer. Let me give you a little bit more insight into each of these women. The goal-oriented saver has high autonomy over her household income. She saves, and she saves towards short-term goals. She wants to save with the bank, but is hesitant based on some past experience or some preconceived ideas that she may have with respect to the bank. The struggling saver, however, has lower confidence levels while engaging with money. She would love to save, and currently she's focused on saving via the government benefits that she receives in her account. And she saves typically for sudden misfortunes. The load bearer, however, is struggling under debts. Money is a source of fear for her. So she trusts the bank, but she's very distant from the bank because the bank is the place in which she can take loans that she has to give back, or she feels that she does not have access to the banking system at all. So these are the three women profiles that we were seeking to solve for. On the next slide, what we tried to do is to understand what are the key barriers that these women face with respect to saving in the bank and in their Jan Dhan account at the bank. And I'm going to highlight 4 such barriers. And I'll go a little deeper in each of these 4 barriers. But let me just name them. First, women don't perceive the bank as a place to save for her. The second is she doesn't consider the bank as a place to save for small amounts, 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 500 rupees. Women don't consider saving at the bank convenient. And I'll be explaining this a little bit more. And women are currently using other means of saving out of habit, and therefore there is inertia to change. I'm going to explain each of these with an example. Let me take the first one in the next slide. Women don't perceive the bank as a place to save. And there are 2 reasons for this. Currently, she lacks familiarity with the banking system. The banking system is outside her comfort zone. So she feels a little anxious, she's a little intimidated, and especially because the bank is in a public place, it is a little, the lack of familiarity is a little higher for her. And she typically has in the past relied on people within her community for financial information. The second key reason that she doesn't find the bank as a place to save for her is because whenever she tried opening the account or taking some money out, the experience was not always positive. Bank officials made her feel intimidated, and she's often described to us her experiences as, the officials were rude, or they were high-handed or unhelpful. And when she walks into the bank, she feels judged. So these prior negative experiences with banks in the past make her believe that banks are not for her. And here are some verbatims that women have told us about. For example, I was scolded and told to go back in line if I were to fill a wrong date. It's embarrassing for her. The next barrier is a very simple one. Women don't consider banks as a place to save for small amounts. So they feel the bank is big, large public sector bank. They really trust it. They respect these banks. But badi logo ke liye, it's for big people. So just a line in Hindi, she says, 100-200 rupees dalne mein mujhe sharam lagti hai. I feel embarrassed to put small amounts of money. I don't know if they'll accept my 200 rupees. And sometimes they actively tell her that, your amounts are too small and we wouldn't like to accept your small amounts. Hence, she has this belief in her, because she can save only small amounts, the bank is not for her small savings. The third barrier is that women don't consider saving at the bank to be convenient, because for her, it's very important to have access to her money physically and when she needs it, instantly. So therefore, there may be an unpredictable event. She should have access to her account immediately. She typically belongs to her household where she takes care of children. Looking after children is her primary responsibility. It limits her mobility. Having to walk to the nearest ATM or bank branch is a challenge for her. And therefore, this ends up being a key barrier for her accessing her account. And finally, women are currently using other means of saving, and therefore there is a natural inertia. These means of saving are comfortable for her. They are typically community means of saving. She's familiar with them. Other people in her community are using it, and these processes seem to work for her. And any change we will face some inertia while asking her to shift from this existing habit to a new habit. Therefore, putting all this together in the next slide, we culled out 3 key design principles for us to then design a solution that works for women. And there are 3 design principles. Make the bank relevant and approachable for her small savings. Make it easy for the woman to deposit savings in the bank. Protect her funds so that she can actually go ahead and make that deposit. and create and demonstrate value for saving in her Jandan account, such that she can break away from the existing inertia and actually go ahead and save in the account. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Marina.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. And now we'll just jump directly into the ideation session. So here we will break out in 4 small groups. So we'll have either Poonam or Swati, Pallavi, or myself to facilitate the discussions. We'll have 15 minutes in these groups. After that, we'll all come back to the central session for closing remarks. But what we're going to do in the sessions is actually design a savings mobilization program for the women you just heard about. So think about empathy and what we discussed. We're just going to really think about who these women are, what their needs are, what their current fears are about the bank account, and what ideas we can come up in 15 minutes to help them overcome these fears and confidently come to save at the bank. So we will focus on 3 prompts that we'll be ideating on. So we will do that in the sessions. And I think at this point, Pooja, we're ready to go into the sessions. And after we come back, we'll do a quick debrief and share out from what the key ideas that came out from each session is, and move to closing remarks.
Thank you, Marina. I will be opening all the rooms now and all the participants will enter automatically. All the rooms will be open for 15 minutes, wherein you will be expected to complete the activity, and then we will meet back in the main session. Opening the rooms now.
Thank you. I hope you had good conversations.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Excellent. So great to hear. Yes.
Lots of ideas.
Excellent. Yeah, I kept a record of the ones our team came up with, and definitely was over 10 ideas in just the short time we were able to discuss together. So very productive conversations. I think we're getting quorum here on the group. So with that, let's move on. And literally, I'll just do a quick call out. We have 4 groups. So 1 representative in each group, if they could share literally 2 or 3 ideas that really stood out for their group and what they discussed, that will be very helpful.
So
okay, I can start.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So how to make banks more approachable? You don't need to bring the bank to the village. Just send an officer, preferably a woman officer, and preferably somebody who turns up at the doorstep. And then the second question is how do you protect funds to make them available? You give her a reason to save, and encourage smaller deposits and make withdrawals easy, and help her distinguish between savings and her expenditure, and then and to encourage those transactions, and then to also reinforce those kinds of transaction activities. Third question is how to create and demonstrate value. Don't cross-sell products. However, do inform her that the benefits of having the bank interest rate versus what self-help groups offer, or what the informal sector will offer. Link it to benefits such as cheaper loans and insurance. And then how do you communicate this value? We can do door-to-door promotion. We also have influencers, possibly other women in the community, and opinion leaders.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next group.
You're welcome.
So I am also ready with my points. I don't know which breakout room, but we are 8 members in the group.
Please go ahead. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
some of the things that we discuss in the group are like, how we can make banks more approachable for the women so that they can be convinced that their money can be saved here, and then they will get the interest, and then they will get the help in that way. And then also how we can leverage the self-help groups and the federations to the banks, and visualizing the women that their personal goals can be connected here, and then, how the banks can be connected with that in terms of the government insurance programs being linked with that. If there are any girls education schemes have been there in the central state level, that can be connected here. And how we can make the processes much easier in terms of the loans can be granted quickly and more in a simpler and faster way. And also, like, how we can encourage the men in the family to encourage the women to save the money. That is also one of the things that the team in the group we have discussed. There are other things like, sharing the real life experiences would actually boost them, encouraging them to come in and save. That is also one aspect team have felt. And also, making savings as an aspirational, that banks can demonstrate how their interventions has helped the family in achieving their personal goals. That's how we can try to link it and then encourage the women to take part in this financial inclusion area.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hari. Wonderful. Next group. Let's have one more group present. I'm really mindful of time, but maybe just one more and I'll move on. Anyone else? Okay, well, this is already a lot to think through, and I just wanted to share a few of observations I've seen through the share outs and what I experienced in my own group. So really something that it was so encouraging to see is people leveraging their own personal experience and their understanding of that women's segment in the ideas that came forth. And another piece really that's important is once you really connect women to actual people you know, like really you can think and empathize with who you're trying to design for. And with this, really another thing to point out is thinking about what trends are currently existing and what existing channels will be important to leverage. So really interesting ideas was about thinking about self-help groups and how we can leverage them in the rural areas, thinking about how currently women are saving in urban areas using the small boxes of rice in the cupboard or other ways, and really thinking what can we incorporate. And another aspect to bridge that gap of saving at home and the bank is bringing the bank to her doorstep with somebody coming into the door and collecting savings at the door. And I think there was really interesting thoughts about who this person should be, who are trusted people in the community that can be a bridge between the bank and the customer and can really engage women in a productive way, help them understand what they need to do, help them fill out forms, and help them feel welcome. Finally, thinking about technology and with the whole wave of digitization in India, what can we leverage with technology and helping women use it in the way they engage with the bank, and what financial capability and skills do we need to further build and support women with in order for them to feel comfortable in using digital. And then finally, I think quite a lot of thinking about aspiration. So how can we tap into the emotions of around saving, which is saving for the family, for my children's education, for their weddings, in a way to help motivate women save, which is a really important factor for just continuing to build a motivation to save. So thank you all, really fantastic discussions and really, really great ideas. With that, I will actually quickly go on to what we eventually developed for the solution. And this is work that we rolled out in a pilot. It's about to get to scale. So it's really something that you can see in the field even now, but the solution had three main components. So the first one, really focusing on an integrated communication plan to help and welcome customers at all touch points, and really leveraging business correspondents that are close to women and where they live and in their homes, as well as the branch. How do we really kind of talk and welcome women and direct them to the channels that will be most helpful for them? Second, we're really focused on features that can help nudge and reward recurring small deposits, because as all of you said, motivation for saving is really important and tapping into that is important. How can we do that in a way that really encourages women to save small amounts, to save at the bank? So we really looked at gold cards as well as rewards in the phase of an overdraft facility after making 4 consecutive deposits into the bank. And then finally, really thought about a channel that's close to women, urban customers. And for us, that was the bank correspondent channel, that can be that interface that's right in the community, that can be an easier point for them to get to and really engage with the bank and make deposits, withdraw. So really building a whole solution around strengthening that channel that can serve women well close to their home. And then finally, what I wanted to share is a few results to really highlight that through this design, we were able to sustain habitual savings behavior in our customers, of them making 4 deposits or more of 500 rupees over time. And this is a really important step to really proving that, yes, savings is important for women. They can save at the bank, and we can bring them as customers for banks and as profitable customers to the bank. With that, I really want to thank you all for participating and opening up for any questions. Please do direct them to the India team, to myself. We're here to answer any questions you might have for us. I'll monitor the chat in case we have questions there.
Maria, there's one question saying, which are the top reasons to mobilize women to transact at the bank?
Mm-hmm. Pallavi, would you like to take that?
So if I understand the question, it is the reasons why women would want to come to the bank. So from our learnings, what really worked for the women were 2 things. 3 things actually. We ran a campaign that welcomed her. So and the campaign spoke to her. And it was actually for the first time that we promoted a product called Jan Dhan Plus that reached out to women visually and via the branch and the DC channel. So she looked at the campaign and said, oh, this is something for the first time that's talking to me as a Jan Dhan customer. So it welcomed her. The second thing is that our campaign focused on small savings, which I think a lot of the group members spoke about. So we were not asking her to put a lot of money. We just told her 500 rupees per month. That 500 rupees really resonated with her. This means it's for me. I can do something like this, and it's doable. And the third thing finally is that we rewarded her so that she could do 4 transactions with a goal. The goal was that if I complete 4 transactions, I can access an overdraft an overdraft is like an emergency credit facility that you can access in bad times. So I would say these 3 things really made a difference for her to sign up to the scheme and sustain her savings.
Another question is that 18% of the women were able to do small savings during COVID. It's quite encouraging. So what do you think would be the contributing factors?
That's right. That's right. So when we asked these women, in fact, we asked a lot of these women the same question because it's still COVID in a way, right? And a lot of these women felt that even though it was COVID, they were parking aside money because these women are natural savers.
It seems there's some issue with Pallavi's internet.
Yeah, I can see that. So I'll try to pick up.
Encourage them to do that.
Okay, she's back. All right. We lost you for a bit there, Pallavi. If you could just repeat what you just said.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did lose me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
I have a
You're
question.
talking. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
How do you get the bank to agree to this project with you, given that the deposits are so small?
But yes, that's an important point. But remember that small deposits end up being large balances for the bank because the bank has a huge base of women customers. They have over 45 million total Jan Dhan customers and around 20 million women customers. So the deposits may be small, but the entire infrastructure would like to encourage these women because overall they bring in cheap funds for the banking system. And also women, a small saving is typically stickier. When they keep in money, they stay for life. So it's a concept called a customer lifetime value. So the probability that she's going to keep that money and stay engaged for life is very high. So there's a little bit of upfront investment for a long time value for the bank. I'll take the other question from Manish. As part of this work, do you also look at the happiness quotient of women? If in case the women are married, their husbands. So we are going to be initiating an outcomes research at the back of this project, specifically to look at the impact on the lives of these women after they started saving with the bank. So it's obviously more than just balance sheet increase. They should have had an improvement in their life and empowerment, a relationship definitely in the family is one of the aspects. So Manish, we would be looking into it.
Pallavi, could you just, if you could answer the COVID question once, because it got cut out.
So on COVID, these women, even though it was COVID, there were 2 reasons why they continued saving up. And we asked them this question specifically. One is that they had already committed to a saving scheme. So it was a soft commitment. And so the product construct helped them on, it nudged them. So there were positive nudges. Women are natural savers. So even in a bad time, they like to park away money for a worse time. So they actually use this scheme to keep aside some money in their bank account. In general, in the banking system, balances have grown during COVID, primarily for this reason, because customers were parking aside money and spending less. So when we asked them, how are you managing your expenses? They had reduced their expenditures.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you all for a really fantastic participation, for joining us today. We really enjoyed the session. We would love to continue hearing from all of you, and have a very lovely evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Marina, Pallavi, Swati, and Poonam, for such a fabulous facilitation of this masterclass.